get her recorded.
We're recording.
Thank you. All right, I'd like to go ahead and open up the Tuesday, October 5th, 2021 Warrenton Board of Alderman meeting. With that, I'd ask for you to rise and say the Pledge of Allegiance with us, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So with that, I would like to move on to the presentation of the DRE pin to Officer Glatz. Chief? You can let everybody know what DRE is. It's not a famous person who rapped in the 90s.
It's for drug recognition experts.
Excellent.
It's one of the most difficult, if not the most difficult, trainings that you can complete as a police officer. Officer Glass completed not only the class, but all the prerequisite classes and made all the necessary arrests and investigations to qualify for it. And so tonight we're going to award him the device for his uniform, indicating that he's now a DRE.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Always the ceremonial, Chief. We embrace the ceremony. With them in the background.
Okay.
Stand in front of the podium with the Chief.
In front of the podium. In front
You
of the
too, Chief, right there. No.
kind of like a herd cat.
Do you want to pose them too, by chance?
Hold on.
Shake hands.
Can you get a little closer?
You don't need Congratulations.
Once again, thank you, Officer Glatz.
Thank you, guys.
Yes. Next item would be the consent agenda.
We have the regular and executive meeting minutes from September 21st, 2021.
Entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda items as they were submitted.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made by Alderman Deloy, seconded by Alderman Cullum. Roll call vote.
Alderman Deloy,
Yes.
Alderman Schultz,
Yes.
Alderman Crump,
Yes.
Alderman Porter,
Yes.
Alderman Cullen,
Yes.
Alderman Jasper.
Yes.
Motion passes 6-0. Next will be public comments. What's that? Oh. Well, give me a moment. Is it in the packet?
It should be right there on your, in front of you.
Just the, you're talking about the email?
Mm-hmm.
I don't have it. I can pull it up though on my email. Oh, okay. Well, thank you. All right, we have an email from Josh Poor. This is to be read at the 10/5/2021 Board of Alderman meeting. Terry Thorne failed to post an individual bond prior to taking office as city administrator. Additionally, the board did not waive the individual bond requirement. Also, no blanket bond was in place that covered the position by employee title. City Administrator Brandy Walters admitted this in an email to the mayor and board on 9/21/2021. I believe taxpayers deserve to know why city officials at the time in question chose to risk taxpayer funds in favor of achieving a predetermined outcome. What the city has previously called quote-unquote staff errors or quote-unquote clerical errors or quote-unquote oversights have exposed a pattern of city officials failing to follow the city code. Consequences and accountability are often lacking when these happenings occur, and it is left to the private citizens to bring these matters to light. Regarding the failure to bond, the code states that if someone fails to give bond as required, the office is deemed vacant, and for any breach of condition of any such bond, suit may be instituted thereon by the city or by any person in the name of the city to the use of such person. I believe that's the end of the email. And I believe this is a topic discussion later on in the agenda. Are there any other public comments anybody would like to make? If so, please come forward and we'll give you 5 minutes to speak. Just state your name, please. Are there any further emails or... Okay, we'll move on. Next will be the Board of Alderman comments.
I'd like to say I just, Sunday, I had the opportunity to attend the local homecoming parade. Plenty of candy and things thrown out for all the kids. I think we're going to need some more dentists in town after that. And I'd like to wish the football team good luck this coming Friday, homecoming.
Against Winfield.
Who's it against?
Winfield?
Winfield.
Who's undefeated right now?
Had to throw that in
Until
there.
we play them.
Just had to throw that in there. Any other comments?
Yeah, I think it was great just to see how many people were at the Fall Festival this past Saturday. So it was a great turnout. I was quite surprised at how many were out. So it was great to see. So thank you, community.
Springboard off that and say yes. I agree. I think by the pictures you can see there was a big turnout. The bands were great. I could hear them all the way up the street. They weren't too loud, but it was just right. And boy, I tell you what, I don't think you could ask for better weather. I think it's probably the best weather we've had for one yet. So.
I don't think I quite agree with the mayor's choice on cars, though, but hey.
Hey, when they give it the Mayor's Choice Award, I guess I get to choose. Honestly, I'll tell you, half of that was their backstory. It was kind of neat how they came about that. Any other comments by any of the aldermen? So I'm going to say I do have some things I want to cover, but it's first. Anybody ever wonder why we have Butch, Wax, and the Hollywoods back every year? Let me tell you. I got a letter from Gene, who's the pianist and I think one of the founding people of the group. Thanks so much to you and your staff for having us play at the Warrenton Fest on Saturday. Everything was perfect, and we had a great time. And then the bonus of having Miss Missouri there to join us on stage. Thanks again, Gene. Bands don't have to do this. In fact, a lot don't take the time to do this. They do, almost every year. They write us a thank you card and always show the appreciation for having them out there. That's why we will continue to have them until they otherwise decide not to, in my opinion, or I guess until another board decides not to have them. But as far as I'm concerned, they're a staple at every one we have. With that, we'll go into boards and commission appointments. For planning and zoning, I would like to nominate Gary Miller to fill the term of Eric Holt, John Cornell to fill the term of Richard Taylor, and Scott Detterman to fill a vacant spot. Is that correct? All these will be a 4-year term. For Board of Adjustments, Michael Cooper to fill the term of Stacy Blondin, Philip Priest as an alternate A, Scott Detterman as alternate B, and John Cornell as alternate C. For the Park Board, Cheryl Dyer to fill the term of Nancy Shilharvey. I'll entertain a motion to approve the mayor appointments to Planning and Zoning, Board of Adjustments, and the Park Board.
So moved.
Second?
Okay, so Schultz, Alderman Schultz, is that correct?
Correct.
Yes.
And who was the second? Porter. Okay, thank you. Sorry. Motion made by Alderman Schultz, seconded by Alderman Coulter. Roll call vote.
Alderman Schultz?
Yes.
Alderman Crump?
Yes.
Alderman Corder?
Yes.
Alderman Cullen?
Yes.
Alderman Jaspering?
Yes.
Alderman Deloy.
Yes.
So with that, let me just briefly say that's not just an appointment anymore made by my choice and my choice only, but we've actually incorporated a vetting process that incorporates the board to at least help understand who they are as a person before we put them on the board. It's something that I think a lot of cities are going to, and I think it's something that sometimes isn't always to meet at night to be able to do, but it does help us become better acquainted with people instead of just there's someone on a board we don't even know who they are. It just helps with the relations between the two boards.
I'd like to say thank you to these folks for stepping up and filling these positions. They're very important, and I appreciate you doing what you're doing for the community.
It's a thankless process sometimes.
That's what I heard.
It can be. So next is the Police Department exercise. Mr. Jim Sharp, if you wouldn't mind coming forward. Little tongue-in-cheek, we just hope this isn't a Jane Fonda routine that the chief is going to have to put forward.
Respectfully, do I look like Goliath?
I don't know. You can jazzercise. Is that even a thing anymore?
That
I
went
don't know if
south
that
in a
is.
hurry.
Zumba.
Thank you for your time this evening. Back in early September, at the police department's request, we designed a tabletop exercise for them. If you're unfamiliar with the term, that's a discussion-based exercise where you work through a scenario, but you don't have to, put people in the field and do things like that. Right off the bat, I think with one exception of somebody who was out sick, every member of their command staff participated in that exercise. And I've been doing this a long time, and I have a hard time coming up with any other instances where some department made their entire command staff available for an exercise. It speaks volumes to the dedication of the department and the city that they do that. I learned a bunch. I hope they did too, but as we were washing out, one of the patrol sergeants asked me what my expectations were, and I expected it to cause more of a problem than it did. The things that we usually see problematic in exercises and in the real world were part of that exercise, and it had an impact, but not a debilitating impact on the exercise as a whole. Things like dispatch issues, communication issues, multiple simultaneous events in a short staff environment. And all those things were just taken in stride without having to call in extra resources or really do anything that I would have had to upline any kind of request for. And it made me really think about, in my profession, statewide and nationwide, are those things that are always impactful? Or can we look at a different way to prioritize, what we do across agencies and across jurisdictions? But I just wanted to, again, not take up a ton of time, but say thank you to everybody who showed up. Again, very, very rare for that level of participation, and I'm really grateful for it. So thanks very much.
Thanks for coming up and saying something.
Yeah.
We don't always get that, so I appreciate it. Next would be approve the list of records to be destroyed. Were there any questions on that, regarding that?
Guessing that's just old records?
These are just old. I mean, I'll let them explain, but yeah, there are old records.
According to the Secretary of State list of record guidelines of what records can be destroyed, this is what we have for this year.
So they do it by year, what they can keep.
Yeah, it's kind of a figure. Okay.
If there's no questions, I'll entertain a motion to approve the list of records to be destroyed.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made by Alderman Crump, seconded by Alderman Jaspering. Roll call vote.
Alderman Crump?
Yes.
Alderman Corder?
Yes.
Alderman Cullum?
Yes.
Alderman Jaspering?
Yes.
Alderman Deloy,
Yes.
Alderman Schultz?
Yes.
Passes 6-0. Next item will be the discussion topic of the crime bond. I believe this will be in direct correlation to the email that I read previously as well.
I asked for this to be brought up on the agenda today, Mayor. I guess my biggest thing is I had some calls from my constituents that basically kind of went along with the email, how something like this happened. Obviously, the person in question doesn't work for the city no more. To me, it's not a small deal anyways. So I guess I would just ask how something like this happened. What do we plan on doing to fix it going forward? I believe Brandy had some information on a plan to ensure this does not happen again going forward.
I agree. Brandy?
Yes. So I did do some history, looked into this. As you guys know, I sent you all that email about it. I can't fix what happened 3 years ago. I don't have an explanation. Moving forward, however, we're going to put into place this procedure, which I gave all of you guys a copy, and there's a copy on the screen, that moving forward, the city clerk, when she does an oath of office, she's going to verify that that bond is in place prior to. She'll keep a copy of that with the oath of office. The other thing that we'll do is annually, when we renew our crime bond, which is part of our property and liability insurance, in November each year, then the director of operations, when he is checking through that, we will make sure that that is up to date and all titles are on there. That's really kind of our fix moving forward. I know it doesn't fix that 7 months back in 2018, but we're trying to fix everything going ahead.
So as far as we know, at this point in time, there was no wrongdoing, nothing, no issues, no problems. It was just a clerical mistake.
Exactly.
Basically, and even though it's a very unfortunate mistake, it was a mistake, and there's been no ill-gotten anything from anyone in any way, shape, or form.
Absolutely not. And I think it was just in the creation of that new position, that new title, it just got lost in the shuffle, honestly. So there was no wrongdoings, nothing at all.
Okay. Oh, I'm satisfied. Thanks.
I think the only wrongdoing would be is that we missed it. I know it's not a satisfactory answer to the email, but it is what it is, and we've been transparent about it when asked. We always have. I get that there's maybe some calling for some other type of conclusion or some type of discipline to be done, but at this time I believe it's something the board can effectively look into, and if we choose to, I'm sure we will announce what it is. But I think coming up with this as well, as long as it meets standards from the board, and I think if there's someone who disagrees, we can go back to the drawing board to try and come up with something else new, but if everybody's satisfied with this is something we'll probably proceed forward with putting in place. But as far as the consequences of accountability are often lacking, I believe we've gone back and looked at everything. I'll probably be crucified on social media, as we all are at times, but you know, I believe this board has worked hard at trying to work through things, work with things, and ask for change. And I know this is going to sound a little harsh, but anybody who doesn't like what this board is doing, please put forward and come forth and put in to run against whoever you believe is either falsely doing something or doing something wrong, and be voted in to make that change. That's always open for anyone to come run. I'm not saying that we do everything perfect, but I believe this board as a whole, even new, has gone back and attacked it and handled situations that even past decisions by past boards have made. And I think we've been pretty open and transparent about what we can.
Mayor, I'd like to say, add to that is that I realize it's hard in a lot of cases for people to come down and voice their opinion here in front of us and discuss some of these things. Emails are great, but occasionally, if I'd like to see if whoever has issues, feel free to come up here and talk to us, because I'd love to have the conversation with you.
Yeah, I agree with you, Alderman Corder, just because when we have somebody come forward and we are able to discuss this openly with the public, sometimes we come about things that we're not apparent, that aren't quite apparent for us to be able to see. And it uncovers things that we can take a look at and deal with. The back and forth discussions are great, and I think we did it in a work session with Truesdale where there were some things and hard feelings and things that we were seeing one way, they were seeing another, but when we got together, it kind of dissipated and everything was very easily rectified just by open conversation. But when we have an email, it's fine for putting forth, but I do believe if we're able to talk about things, we could get more in depth on topics and be able to discuss them.
Well, I
So I
think
agree
didn't
with
we
you.
just change some of our procedures to have that conversation
Yes, we did.
here?
Yes.
So, so be it.
And I'm not trying to put you on the spot, Alderman Cullum. Are you satisfied with the thing, or do you think we should work on a little? I'm not trying to put you on the spot. but
Oh, no,
think it's a
I
step in the
brought
right
it up.
direction.
Like I said, my constituents brought it up, so I wanted to
No,
make sure
and
that
that's-
their voice was heard. I agree with Alderman Corder and the mayor. We always, encourage people to come up here in person if you can. Like they said, email's fine, but, if you can get up here, it's always better to do it in person as well, just so we can kind of get more, I feel like, to me, this is us being transparent, which is what people have asked in the past, so.
And I want to bring it up just on a personal conversation between Alderman Cullum and myself. We discussed this on, to what level is it rising, and we do need to discuss it. But like I told Alderman Cullum, if one person asks a question, we should answer that question. It doesn't matter if it's 1 or 500. Everybody deserves a right for a question to be answered. And there again, though, as we discussed last time, may not always like the answer you get. That's the end portion that people don't like. Any other questions or comments on this?
Nope.
Excellent. All right, next we'll hear from City Administrator Brandy Walters.
Good evening. The first thing that I have for you tonight is the city attorney contract renewal for this year. Just a couple quick things is the retainer services has stayed the same, that cost, and that has remained the same since 2013. I did send you guys this afternoon an MML survey to show you kind of where we're at on as far as salaries go, and it seems like we're about average for the cost of this. So we annually renew this every year.
Any questions on that at least?
I got a question.
Sure.
Well, I got a comment, I guess. I had asked Brandy as well, hey, how does this happen? Does the city put out bids or anything like that? And that's where she came up with that. We contacted other cities to see how that goes about. So in case anyone's interested, like I was, how that happens. So,
Yeah, it's by statute, it's not a requirement to put that out for bid. And I think within that, a lot of cities get comfortable with an attorney, and comfortable is not the correct word. They get used to how it works in the flow of a system, and a lot of attorneys end up staying in their city attorneys until they choose to leave or the city chooses to disregard their employment any longer. It is a common practice that it doesn't go out.
And it's kind of nice to have someone that knows our history and has helped us grow. So, longevity means a lot, I think, in any position, and I think this one, for sure, is one that is definitely need longevity in. So,
With that being said, I'm just going to tackle a small little issue here that I heard out in public. Anytime you hear disagreements, maybe between myself and the attorney or the board of aldermen and the attorney, that doesn't mean that our attorney is bucking against us. It means he's trying to advise us of some counsel, and we all discuss it, and we may not see eye to eye. That is a common thing among other cities. Don't take that for the alderman not happy with an attorney, because I can tell you I'm very happy with Attorney Chris Gravel and how he's handled things within the city. So it doesn't mean we're always going to get along on a certain topic. It just is what it is. I appreciate the fact that he's trying to advise against certain things and trying to show us maybe the other opposite side of issues. So.
If I can respond to that, Mayor,
Sure.
I greatly appreciate everybody's support. I always have. Obviously, the city of Warrenton was my first big city I represent, and I represent a lot of other cities, so it's very close to my heart. I think I've been here 15 years as a city attorney. And there's obviously a lot of institutional knowledge is there, and a lot of people, I think, misunderstand my role because I'm not the mayor's attorney, I'm not the Board of Aldermen's attorney, I'm the city's attorney. And so I have to separate my advice from what may be something a particular alderman wants, or the board wants, or the mayor's wants. And I will tell you that in all my cities, the city of Warrenton has allowed me to, I think, represent the city as an entity and look out for its best interest. And in my 15 years here, we've had 2 lawsuits. And I think a lot of that is because I've been able to advise, and we won both of them. I've been able to advise the city on what is in the city's best interest, may not be in, we've had some strong personalities on this board and mayor position before, what's in the city's best interest, and the city's always listened to my advice, and I appreciate the support.
You are making reference to past mayors, correct?
Maybe.
Of course I was referencing it when you said you like Chris Gravel. I'm going to clip that one off and save it.
You better hold on to that one for a long time, buddy. You better
There's gonna be
record
some
that,
mileage
keep a
out of
hold of
that.
it.
I may make it your ringtone, Mayor.
So there's a bill later on the agenda for that. As far as,
go ahead.
Oh, I was going to keep talking about that, sorry.
No, go ahead.
While we're on the subject, I mean, I appreciate everything you do, Chris. I've got nothing against you personally, but I mean, there are some things in the past that have happened, like the bond issue and the Terry Thorne contract and whatnot, and some other things before I was here that, quite frankly, we can say they're small things, but they're really not. I mean, some of those I feel like
let me
maybe you
address.
should have caught those, or but yeah, go ahead.
Let me address the bond issue. I want to make sure this board and the mayor understands my role. By ordinance, I give legal advice. I am not in charge of operations of the city. I'm not in charge of checking on the bonds. If you want to do that, want me to do that, I can do that. I know there's been some stuff on social media, which, it's not my job to be everybody's friend. Sometimes it's my role to be the bad guy, as you guys know. And that's what my job is to do. But the idea that somehow operationally a bond would be, that has nothing to do with legal advice. I have no role whatsoever in checking bonds or doing anything like that. I mean, that's an operational issue. That's not me giving a legal opinion, or an issue comes up with the city and strategizing with the city about, how do we handle, a bond issue or something like that. I mean, not that I'm better than doing that, but I don't really have anything to do with operations on a day-to-day basis of what the city does. I mean, generally I represent the city in litigation. I do the municipal court. We talk about legal issues that are raised by the Board of Aldermen. I wrote the ordinance for the city administrator based on what the board and the mayor at the time wanted, but this idea that somehow the city attorney has a responsibility to make sure people have bonds, I think is a little bit of a misunderstanding of municipal government, because the city attorney has, I've talked to one alderman about this before, I'm not the city administrator, I'm not the city clerk, I'm not the director of operations. I mean, there's people that are here full-time that's their job, is to make sure operations occur. And I think Warrenton does a pretty darn good job of, eliminating mistakes and becoming more of a professionally managed city, like Kalia and the city administrator and the department heads and whatnot. But I know that was a concern that was raised, but I wouldn't even know necessarily unless I asked the city administrator or city clerk or the director of operations about the bond, whether they were bonded or not. I don't review the bonds, I don't purchase the bonds, I don't approve the bonds, I don't have any role whatsoever in that element of it. I think there are people out there that, may have an idea of like who I am, or, like I said, sometimes my role is to be the bad guy, and I think they're quick to kind of say, why didn't the city attorney catch this? I wouldn't have anything to do with that on any city I represent. So with regards to that issue, I'm happy to answer questions about any other issue that comes up, but I think it's a little bit of somebody stealing a couple bases by saying this was Chris Gravel, the city attorney, for the reason the bond wasn't there, because that's an operational thing, right? And operationally, we had a city in the last 3 years, a city administrator appointed, a city administrator retire, COVID, all these other things. There have been I'm not sticking up for the staff, but there's been a lot of operational problems that have had to be worked through, and a lot of transitionary in those operational problems. I was surprised as everybody about the bond issue because that's typically something that never happens. And when I discussed it with Brandy, her first comment to me was, this is what we're going to do to make sure it doesn't happen again. And so I'm happy to answer any questions anybody has concerns about me. I just think there's some people out there that don't, particularly like the way I do my job, which is their right to do. But, to put on me a bond issue that has nothing to do with legal advice, I think just fundamentally is unfair to do that.
Gotcha. I agree that it's not your job to, make sure they're covered, but I just assume, like, if you're the one writing the bill that they passed at the time, you may have been like, hey, just so you know, this is going to be its own individual bond or something like that, or making sure that businesses are legit before we vote on them and that kind of stuff.
Well, really, I say, like, businesses are legit before you vote on them. So whether it's a liquor license or something else like that, I review what I'm asked to review by the city. So, like, yeah, I drafted the ordinance for city administrator, and we do what we typically do is we looked at 7 other cities, thought the language which was the best, worked it with the board, worked it with the mayor. The ordinance was approved. I really don't have anything to do with it unless that ordinance directs me to do something, because really at that point, it's an operational issue to implement. So, I can definitely, if you guys want me to be more involved in the operational aspects of it, I can, do that and talk to Brandy about it, but I think she's going to say, I'll just take the legal advice. But I understand that, but I hope you understand my point, Alderman Cullum. On social media, for people to jump and say, this bond issue occurred, it's the city attorney, it's out of left field because, I guess people want me to be a bad guy or want me to be to blame. But in any city, you can talk to any city, you can do an MML survey. I don't know a single city attorney that would be involved in verifying a bond or checking to make sure everybody's bonded or whatnot, because that's almost a ministerial operational task.
Yeah.
That was just missed. It was a mistake. Brandy owned it to say, look, this was just missed. I understand people may not like that, but to the mayor's point, sometimes mistakes are made, and I think city staff over the last couple of years, when a mistake's made, has tried to own it and be very upfront and say, this is what we're going to do to fix it. So.
Well, and to add to that, I don't think anything is minuscule. If something were to happen in that time, we would have been at fault. I think it is something we needed to address. That's why we're bringing it up on this discussion. I'm glad that Alderman Cullum did bring it up. It's something we do need to address. Therefore, working on an issue, and if what's presented doesn't fix that, we'll work on it again. It's not something we're going to ignore, and I don't think this board is ignoring it. We've discussed it, we've talked about it, we've put it on a discussion topic, we've received comments from it, and we'll continue to look into it. If something is in error, we'll fix it. By the grace of God, nothing did happen. You want to call it luck, you want to call it what it is, we'll own the mistake. Luckily, nothing did happen. That doesn't minimize or slight the problem. Anybody else?
The next thing I have for you tonight is I just wanted to update you on the email that we got back from MoDOT from our work session with them. So we received a response from Eric Maniga, and I'll just run over it real quick. The stoplight on Veterans Memorial, where you're turning left, the complaint was it's a very short light. They said that the traffic staff will do an observation and determine if the changes are needed, and they'll let us know what they find out. The stoplight at 47 turning left on a north outer road where it has no arrow, it's currently a permissive only use turn at this time. And in the future, if they do an upgrade, a future project, or they do some kind of signal upgrade, they'll change it at that time. The stoplight at Warrior Avenue, there's no yellow light to turn left. Same thing as the previous question. If there's a future project or a signal upgrade, they'll change it at that time. The stoplight at 47 turning left on westbound I-70, and you had asked if it could be painted on the road.
Sure.
And they said pavement marking is hard to maintain. It's covered by vehicles most of the time, and currently there's a sign beside the signal head for this movement, so there's no plan to change that at this time. The stoplight at Warrior Avenue, where it has a sign and Warrior Avenue has an arrow to go to the left, they said that he is going to look into that and have that changed. So that's your update.
2 out of 5, that ain't bad.
That 70 West sign is
Tiny.
obsolete, and I don't even think you can even see it say 70 West anywhere anymore.
Talking about the one above?
Yeah.
It's
Yeah, I don't
smaller.
even think it's even there. It's just a green sign. I think 70 West is like faded, gone. You can't even see it.
To tell you the truth, I haven't seen it.
I don't mean to laugh. Yeah, I do. I definitely mean to laugh. That's, guys, honestly, this is not Eric Meninga's fault. It's easy to blame. It's easy to jump on that. It's not. He is the messenger and sometimes bears the blunt of everything we say. I appreciate him getting back to us. But folks, understand out in the public, this is the frustration with dealing with MoDOT. Is sometimes you ask for answers that are for the betterment of your people in your town, and you get answers from engineers that don't even or can't even point out where Warrenton is on a map. So it's frustrating. There again, probably take heat for that comment, but I think that's the truth, at least in my book, and I'll speak it.
All I have.
But hey, 2 out of, what is it, 5 issues, 2 out of 5 that he's going to address? Hey, at least we got 2. I'll look at the positive side of it. That's all you have?
That's all I have tonight.
Excellent, thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we hear from Director of Operations, John Struckoff.
Have 2 things for you tonight, actually 3. The first 2 are the TSM agreement amendments. One's for the concessions, while the other one's for the league management. The biggest changes are the changes of the names. Ownership of TSM changed, and then the previous city administrator was listed on there, so we changed names for that. And it's now listed under the company name rather than personal name for the TSM. Change the name of the complex, remove the rain out line, some pretty minor changes.
Those will both be bills.
Both be built later in the meeting. I do have one thing to talk about on the concessions agreement. They were, in the concession agreement, it says they cannot sell liquor without approval by the board. That's the biggest reason they're updating this agreement, because they want to get their liquor license and start selling liquor at the ballpark. So we'll need agreement from the board for them to do that.
I'm sure that's probably guided towards more like the adult softball and stuff like that. Then
I don't know
people out there
their,
buying booze with their
yeah, I don't know what their plan is with the liquor license, but that's what they're going for, and that's why they needed this agreement updated, so.
That's what they're going for, is that what you're saying?
Yeah, they're going for their liquor license, and they needed to have this agreement updated to the current information for them to go through with the liquor license, so.
And it's, I don't want to put it in an agreement, but I mean, as long as it's strongly suggested that if there's somebody who is becoming more belligerent or what be it, even like what Alderman Jasper said, you know, if you've got somebody who has an issue, let's just kindly say it that way, and they're becoming belligerent, I hope they contact law enforcement to be able to at least do walkthroughs to calm the situation so it doesn't escalate into something. I think we've all been to a couple of those where it probably escalated into something it shouldn't be, even at a juvenile event, unfortunately. But there again, hopefully it's a minimal times it'll happen, but if it is, I hope it just greatly, strongly suggested that they keep observation on that and give a call if there's any issues. But other than that, I don't have any issue with it. I understand what they're doing. And there again, like what Alderman Jasper said, I think during an adult event, it's
yeah, I think they're looking to do it on their adult events.
much liked and encouraged and enjoyed.
So in the agreement, it doesn't say anything about a written agreement from the board, so it just needs to be in the minutes that you guys agree to allow
So
them
we'll have to add that.
I think as long as we have proof in the minutes that you guys agreed to it, I think will
There's
be
nothing in
good.
there, it just says agreement. We don't
Yep.
have to have it in the actually in the agreement or anything written. It's just a verbal. As long as you guys are in agreement with it, we can.
So I don't mind that, but a lot of times we do add that when we're reading to the addition of adding alcohol sales and not having to provide permit, but we're usually guided through council, that wonderful council we talked about earlier, to guide us through adding that the correct way. Excellent, thank you.
Thank you.
The only other thing I have tonight was just a little recap on the Fall Festival. I have a few pictures. Somebody, I don't remember his name, did a bunch of drone shots for us. John Welch did about a bunch of drone shots for us, kind of give you an overview of the crowd that we
I'll
had.
tell you what, bring up that one. There again, I just like the top of the homes pictures. I mean, I love the crowd, but it's kind of neat to see an aerial view of that.
That's awesome.
There's a couple of them that have that
Wow,
one's
look at
amazing
that.
to me. The crowd goes all the way up the street, as far as you can see. That's just the kids' corner. That was kind of towards the end. There was a ton of people in the kids' corner all day.
Yes, there were.
So this is another amazing one, as far as you can see, people. And that was before the concert even started, so.
I appreciate Miss Missouri being as involved as she was. She went in the kids' corner and she spent a long time in there. And I know when she came out, she made comments and just about how much she enjoyed it. And I'll tell you what, probably not that I go hang out with a bunch of people that do those type of contests, but she was the most down-to-earth person I've probably spoken with that is in any type of pageants. And just was freely sharing just little things about her life that were amazing. One heck of a person.
So we ended up with about 50 vendors. They took up about 75 spots. We did turn a few away the last week. The people are calling the day before the event, wanting to get in as a vendor, and it just the paperwork and the stuff that they needed to do, just couldn't do it. So, I think this is going to springboard next year, get another great event next year. We've received many phone calls, emails, your letter from the band of all how great the event was. So it was very well received.
So it wasn't a complaint. I don't want to put it as that. But I think there was a couple areas that were hard for handicapped individuals to be able to get into. They had to kind of jump a couple curbs to be able to get in because it got so crowded. They just asked if there was maybe a way to be able to put a spot designated for people who are directly in wheelchairs to be able to access easily to be able to get in. That was the only other comment that I heard, which I don't think is beyond reason to ask for. Other than that, I got a lot of compliments. How many cards did we turn away?
I forgot about the cars. We had about 150 cars in the car show. That was the people that, it was just under 150 that registered. There was other people that just parked and they didn't want to, they just wanted to park.
Sure.
They didn't want to, not
Be a
really
part of
park
it.
for the event, but they had a nice car, they didn't want to register, they didn't want to be judged.
Right.
So, and then we had, after everybody parked all the cars, there was people parking on their own and walking up and trying to register. So there was well over 150 cars there.
No, we don't really have space to expand when we have vendors, but boy, we sure could if we had the
We could
room.
expand the car show by a long shot. We just don't have the space for it.
No,
We
I
can't shut
get
down
it.
the next street because it's just going to be a nightmare on traffic, so.
But it's a good position to be in.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, you can't complain about it, so. But it was very, very well attended. I talked to several vendors since, and they all had a great show, so. That's all I have tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And all those pictures are accessible on our website, correct? Or
They're all on Facebook, yep.
Facebook site.
A lot of pictures on Facebook. I just pulled a couple for tonight, so.
No, I think it's great. Any questions for John?
All good.
Thank you.
Thanks, John.
Next, we'll hear from Finance Officer Dana Belaska.
Good evening. You have before you a list of claims for your approval this evening. Claims totaling $1,288,073.20. Were there any questions regarding to that list?
I just had one. There was something on there for Northern New Hampshire University. Is that training that we're doing, or is that tuition reimbursement for someone, an employee? Does anyone know? I know you may
Yeah,
not.
that's a tuition reimbursement.
Reimbursement, okay.
Any other questions? I'll entertain a motion to approve the accounts payable in the amount of $1,288,073.20.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made by Alderman Quarter, seconded by Alderman Crump. Roll call vote.
Alderman Quarter?
Yes.
Alderman Cullen?
Yes.
Alderman Jaspering?
Yes.
Alderman Deloy,
Yes.
Alderman Schultz?
Yes.
Alderman Crump?
Yes.
Motion passes 6-0.
The next item are the August financials. Some highlights of the financials would be that in the general fund, you'll notice that it shows that you're $841,000 above budget. That's primarily due to the ARPA funds. So the American Rescue Plan Act, we anticipated the first half of that funding to come back in June. So it's over budget for this year since we got the first part in August. And again, we'll get the second half in December.
Okay.
So I think that there will be more discussion, perhaps a work session, so that the board can have some input as to how you would like to spend those funds.
I think perhaps you may be right.
Okay. The other things you see in the general fund revenues, sales tax are $62,000 above budget, court and police fines, $40,000 below budget, and permitting, again, we talked about the little bit of a slowdown on building at the first part of this fiscal year, so $20,000 below budget. General fund operating expenses, $138,000 below budget. Of that, $88,000 were related to wages, primarily vacancies. In the water and sewer fund, revenues are $59,000 above budget. A mixture of water and sewer sales, $29,000 above budget. Industrial sewer, $19,000 below budget. And connection fees, again, the little bit of a slowdown on the building starts, $18,000 below budget. Operating expenses for that water and sewer fund, $19,000 below budget, of which $16,000 of that is related to wages, again, some vacancies. Were there any other questions on the August financials?
I had none.
The last thing on my list is an annual SID report. So this SID is the Shops at Warrenton SID, which is the area down the old Outlet Mall, the Rural King area. So there's a SID in that area along with the TIF. And the SID is a community improvement district which generates a 1% tax on sales in that area. And that goes to that entity, and it is used to pay down the bonds that will be sold to pay back the developer for the infrastructure improvements, the things out of the ordinary that it took to develop that area down there. So this is a requirement that this SID entity report to the board once a year with its annual reports, and it sends it to the Secretary of State too. Were there any questions or anything regarding this SID annual report?
I didn't have any. I appreciate the breakdown. I think you're good. Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Next, we'll hear from the Aquatics Director, Lisa Kramer.
Good evening. You have in front of you the report for the Aquatic Center for September. Are there any questions on that? October is looking like it's going to be a very busy month. This Saturday we are having our third year birthday celebration for the pool. We are offering free admission to everybody who wants to come from 12 to 3, and we'll have birthday cake available until it runs out. So we're hoping to have a big crowd on Saturday to reintroduce the pool to everybody, and on that day we'll also be hoping to sell memberships at a discount for anybody who hasn't had a membership in the past. Swim lessons started this week as well, so we have quite a few kiddos in swim lessons. We've had to add another water fit class during the week because our water fit classes are, some of them are full. So we've added a class on Mondays and Thursday mornings at 10 o'clock. So we now have classes Monday through Thursday at 8, 9, and 10. And then on Fridays at 8 and 10 as well. And then we started a junior lifeguard class this past Saturday, and that will run through December, and we're offering that to 14-year-olds. So hopefully we can start getting a feeder program of these 14-year-olds that will go into the junior lifeguarding class. When they complete it and turn 15, then hopefully they'll be able to roll right into a job and get hired and have a long time getting trained. And lastly, we have a lifeguard class that'll happen the last weekend in October as well. And we have about 4 or 5 people signed up for that. So lots going on in October.
I think the junior lifeguard program is an excellent idea. I'm glad you're implementing that. As for that, I will say, and kind of reserved for this section, I was contacted by a citizen of the town who said that they very much appreciate the what do they call that? The resistance?
Lazy River.
Lazy River, thank you. The Lazy River. In fact, I think that person's in our crowd right now who says he enjoys it tremendously and it helps him a lot. So I'm glad to hear that it's being used and that it wasn't an ill-fated idea, but it's actually being implemented a lot by people out there who need it. So thank you for the feedback. Any other questions or comments?
Nope.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks, Lisa.
Next, we'll hear from Grounds and Maintenance Director Brad Boozy-Cruz.
Good evening. You have my monthly report for September in front of you tonight. Do y'all have any questions?
I don't have a question, but I got a maybe concern. Up there at the soccer fields, they look great and all. You guys are doing a wonderful job up there, but do we have like a sprinkler system that goes into those fields? I think there might be a leak on one of those.
Yeah, we don't have the sprinkler system has not been turned on yet. We've been holding off on that.
I think there might be a leak there right in front of the U10 field there, off to the left.
In front of the concession stand?
Not that far. It's kind of in front of the playground area there.
Okay.
There's just a spot there that's really wet right in that area and nothing else around it is.
All right. Yeah, we've been kind of holding off. We do have some leaks out there, some major ones that we're going to have to look into this winter and take care of that. So we'll look into that and see what we can find. Also, just so everybody's information, we are plugging and reseeding at this time. So you're going to have mud on your shoes. So just we're doing all the parks. We're doing everything. City Hall, everywhere. So if you see, it's going to be this Saturday might be a little challenging for some of the kids out there, but it's time of year we got to do it. We got to get it when we can get this is the first time we've been able to plug all year because of the dry weather. So this has really been working great. So as they're plugging, I got 2 other guys behind them seeding. So it's that time of year for us to get it done before fall gets here. So.
Aside from injuries, I don't know any kid that doesn't like mud, especially when they're playing. So you may have just made their dream come true.
You have some angry parents.
Yeah, that'd be about it.
They'll all show up this weekend.
Right.
You're not going to make your kids ride in the back of the truck, are you, Alderman Jaspering?
No. We played in the rain over the weekend. They had fun in that.
They do. They have fun. And like I said, aside from injuries, that'd be the only time it would be bad, but it's always fun to watch them play. Any other questions for Brett?
Nope.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we'll hear from Public Works Director Guy Jeevers.
Good evening, Mayor and Board. You have my monthly report in front of you. Questions off of that? For the month, we had 452 locates That's with all the boring they had going through town, so locates with the water department's been busy. We had 2 water main breaks, 3 sewer calls, and those are all in private individuals. And I'm opening up the invitation for you if you want to come down and see the wastewater treatment plant and the wells. So we're breaking ground on the UV and the new sewer line going in, so there's a lot going on down there. Anytime, if you want to do it on a weekend, that's fine.
We can even come down there and get in the middle of the UV operations.
Yeah.
It's like an 8-hour tour if we go with him? What is this?
I'm not sure. I think he's trying to butter us up for more money, but we can go down there and see.
Asking for money tonight.
No money tonight.
No money tonight?
So I'll give you a tour, and then I can show you where I need to put some money.
There you go. See, I knew there was
Baiting us.
ulterior motive.
Sounds like Brad needs money over there for his sprinkler systems.
All joking aside, I would recommend taking him up on it. I've only been down there once myself, I'll say, but it wasn't during Guy's time with the city, so I do need to get back down there and see all the improvements we've made.
That's all I have.
Any questions?
Nope.
All right, thanks, Guy.
Thank you.
Next will be bills or ordinance. So I will entertain a motion for the first reading of bill number 66-21.
So moved.
Second. Who was the first so moved? Was it Mr. Deloy? Alderman Deloy, seconded by Alderman Corder.
An ordinance authorizing the mayor to execute a First Amendment to the concessions provider agreement with Tournament Sports Management, LLC.
This is where we need to add.
Yes, if I may suggest that a board member make a motion to amend the bill to modify paragraph 6 of the agreement to eliminate the word non on non-alcoholic beverages, or just eliminate non-alcoholic altogether. You know, so just make a motion to amend the bill to amend paragraph 6 of the agreement to eliminate the word non-alcoholic, and then we'll take it out and it'll be approved.
Let me get this right. You would need a motion made by one of the aldermen to amend paragraph 6 to delete or do away with the word non-alcoholic.
You said it better than I did, Mayor.
That's why I get paid to do that. I'll entertain a motion if somebody would like to make that amendment.
Sure. What do you want me to say here? Want to make an amendment to that non-alcoholic?
I'll read it back.
Whatever he said.
So moved.
So moved. So
the mayor was an alderman. So moved. The way
So moved.
He from time to time
infamous.
incorporated by reference.
I have one motion made by Alderman Jaspering to amend paragraph 6, delete the word non-alcoholic.
Second.
Seconded by Alderman Corder.
I don't have to read it again, right?
No, we just need to do a roll call on
Just a roll call vote.
for the amendment.
Alderman Cullum?
Yes.
Alderman Jaspering?
Yes.
Alderman Deloy,
Yes.
Alderman Schultz?
Yes.
Alderman Crump?
Yes.
Alderman Corder?
Yes. That is 6-0 for just the amendment on paragraph 6 to delete the word non-alcoholic. I will I will entertain a motion for the second reading of bill number 66-21 with the amendment from paragraph 6 to delete the word non-alcoholic.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made by Alderman Cullum? No. Corder. I'm sorry, Corder. And seconded by Alderman Crump?
Correct.
An ordinance authorizing the mayor to execute a First Amendment to the concessions provider agreement with Tournament Sports Management, LLC.
Roll call vote.
Alderman Jaspering?
Yes.
Alderman Deloy,
Yes.
Alderman Schultz?
Yes.
Alderman Crump?
Yes.
Alderman Corder?
Yes.
Alderman Cullum?
Bill passes 6-0 with the amendment. I'll entertain a motion for the first reading of Bill number 67-21.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made by Alderman Deloy, seconded by Alderman Crump.
An ordinance authorizing the mayor to execute a First Amendment to the Recreational League Management Agreement with Tournament Sports Management, LLC.
I'll entertain a motion for the second reading of Bill number 67-21.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made by Alderman Cullum, seconded by Alderman Jaspering.
An ordinance authorizing the mayor to execute a First Amendment to the Recreational League Management Agreement with Tournament Sports Management, LLC.
Roll call vote.
Alderman Deloy,
Yes.
Alderman Schultz,
Yes.
Alderman Crump,
Yes.
Alderman Quarter,
Yes.
Alderman Cullum,
Yes.
Alderman Jaspering.
Yes.
Bill passes 6-0. I'll entertain a motion for the first reading of Bill number 68-21.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made by Alderman Crump, seconded by Alderman Schultz.
An ordinance authorizing execution of a contract with the Greville Law Firm, LLC, in the city of Warrenton, Missouri for legal services.
I'll entertain a motion for the second reading of Bill number 68-21.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made by Alderman Quarter, seconded by Alderman Crump.
An ordinance authorizing execution of a contract with the Greville Law Firm, LLC, in the city of Warrenton, Missouri for legal services.
Roll call vote.
Alderman Schultz,
Yes.
Alderman Crump,
Yes.
Alderman Quarter,
Yes.
Alderman Cullum,
No.
Alderman Jaspering,
Yes.
Alderman Deloy.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-1. Or bill passes 5-1, I apologize. I'll entertain a motion to close the regular Board of Alderman meeting and go into executive session for real estate.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made by Alderman Crump, seconded by Alderman Quarter. Roll call vote.
Alderman Crump,
Yes.
Alderman Quarter,
Yes.
Alderman Cullum,
Yes.
Alderman Jaspering,
Yes.
Alderman Deloy,
Yes.
Alderman Schultz.
Yes. Motion passes 6-0, and we are so adjourned. Thank you, folks.